Well, Larian has added again, and they announced earlier on a community update that there will be a patch 8 for Baldur's Gate 3 coming in 2025, and it is probably one of the most significant or most staggering patches, hands down, since the launch of the game. It's going to include photo mode, crossplay, and 12 new subclasses. This is absolutely incredible. I don't think a lot of people expected this to happen to the game. It's already got plenty of content. It's already had so many post-launch patches that have just made the game better and better over time. And this is just kind of icing on the cake. Again, this is a free update that's just going to make this game even better. Recently, they've seen Baldur's Gate numbers climb to, higher heights than it's had in a very, very long time. And BG3 continues to be one of the most played games on Steam. I can only imagine what's going to happen in 2025 with these updates. So crossplay is such a huge addition to the game. Photo mode is what photo mode is. I mean, people who love photo modes in games are going to love that. I particularly don't seem to use photo mode a lot, but I know a lot of people love that feature, and that's great. But crossplay is such a huge thing to add to the game. Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely a very fun multiplayer experience, and allowing players to play across platforms is it's something that most games should have nowadays. You're seeing it more and more. It's becoming more and more of the default in multiplayer games. And it's amazing to see that Larian has gone back and now made their game basically cross-play compliant. And this also includes cross-platform progression. So if you are playing on one system and then change over to the other platform, you will have your save files to be able to pick from. So maybe you're playing on PlayStation with your partner or something, and then they go away for the weekend, and you want to continue playing on PC or something like that, you absolutely can. Don't blame me if you get in trouble for doing so. And then obviously the huge addition here being the 12 subclasses. Crossplay is also, obviously a huge one, but I think more and more people would be interested in the subclasses being added. 12 are being added, 1 per class. Bards are getting College of Glamour. Barbarians are getting Path of Giants. Clerics are getting Death Domain. Druids, Circle of Stars. Paladin has Oath of the Crown. Fighter has Arcane Archer, my personal favorite. Monk has Drunken Master. Ranger has Swarmkeeper. Rogue has Swashbuckler. Sorcerer has Shadow Magic. Warlock has Hexblade. I know a lot of people are going to be happy about that one. And Wizard has Bladesinging. College of Glamour focuses on using Mantle of Inspiration, which is an ability that grants temporary hit points to friendlies around you. It starts at 5, and I think at level 10 it goes up to 11. So you'd be able to grant, later in the game, up to 11 temporary hit points on friendlies around you. And also it seems like they're going to make it so that if an enemy attacks you while casting it, they'll find themselves charmed, which is pretty nice. And there is a big focus of charmed with this subclass as well, allowing you to control characters around you more easily by manipulating them. So if that's kind of a style that you like playing, then this would be a great subclass for you. So the Barbarian's Path of the Giants has a huge focus on being larger and also throwing. Primarily throwing is what this subclass specializes in. So if you're a Barbarian that likes throwing, you might pick this one. It typically has the ability Crushing Throw that makes it so that when you make a successful ranged attack with a thrown weapon using strength, you can add your rage damage bonus to the attack roll's damage. So you're going to get more damage when throwing weapons. It also makes you larger. And historically, it's also made it so that you can throw a medium or lower sized creature as a bonus action once you hit level 10. So if you like throwing as a barbarian, or you want to lean more into the throwing nature of barbarians, then this would be a good subclass. Clerics will gain Death Domain, which allows them to have access to some death-focused spells like Ray of Sickness, False Life, Ray of Enfeeblement, Vampiric Touch, Animate Dead, stuff like that. Cloud Kill. They'll gain access to spells that clerics wouldn't normally gain access to otherwise, so they'll have those. Additionally, they should have access to the Bone Chill cantrip based on the limited necromancy cantrips that are on BG3, and it should be able to hit 2 creatures if they're within 5 feet of each other, so it has that added as well. And their channel divinity is called Touch of Death. This makes it so that when you hit a creature with a melee attack, you deal extra necrotic damage to the target. And historically, this has been 5 times twice your cleric level, so it's going to increase as your cleric level increases. I don't know if that'll be exactly the same, but that will allow you to deal a devastating melee attack. And at level 6 with a Death Domain Cleric, you'll basically have it so that your necrotic damage dealt by your cleric spells and channel divinity ignore the resistance to necrotic damage. So you're going to be able to cut through necrotic damage resistance on enemies, which is fantastic. And your Divine Strike will obviously add necrotic damage for this domain once you get level 8. So then Druids have the Circle of the Stars. What's notable about this subclass is that they will gain the Guidance cantrip, and also they'll be able to use Guiding Bolt like a certain number of times before long rest, equal to their proficiency bonus. So that's a really strong spell in this game, so that's really good for them. Additionally, they'll gain a Starry Form, which allows them to use one of their wild shape charges in order to kind of have a constellation overlaid over them. I don't know if they're going to have all of these constellations in the game, but they have like Archer, Chalice, and Dragon. Archer allows them to make like a ranged attack equal to 1d8 plus their Wisdom modifier for radiant damage. So it kind of gives them like a default ranged attack. Chalice gives them the opportunity whenever they cast a spell that uses a spell slot to restore HP to someone, you or another creature will also heal for a certain amount, like 1d8 plus your Wisdom modifier. So it's kind of good if you're trying to be like a healer druid or get some healing in. And the Dragon constellation makes it so that when you make an intelligence or a wisdom check or a constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on a spell, you treat rolls of 9 or lower on the d20 as a 10. That's really, really strong if you're a spellcaster that's using concentration spells, because it'll make it much more difficult for you to fail. They also gain something called Cosmic Omen, which allows them to make a reaction when a creature makes a saving throw, attack roll, or ability check. They can add a roll of a d6 to the total number rolled or subtract it. So like if an enemy is attacking or something or trying to make a saving throw, you could reduce it so that that is successful. This is within 30 feet. Or you could add to like a friendly's attack roll or saving throw, for instance, so they can succeed, or an ability check. They can use this a number of times equal to their proficiency bonus before long resting, so this is really good for changing outcomes inside and outside of combat. Very strong, in my opinion. So then Paladins gain Oath of the Crown, and the sort of morals of the tenets of the Oath of the Crown are law, loyalty, courage, and responsibility. So if you like playing like a good Paladin, then this is definitely one you might want to consider playing. On top of that, Oath Paladins gain some interesting spells like Command, Compelled Duel. Both of those are pretty good. Spirit Guardians they gain as well. That's a really, really strong spell. I like that one a lot. And then as far as Channel Divinity abilities go for Oath of the Crown, they have two. One makes it as a bonus action, they basically issue a challenge to enemies that are within 30 feet of you that must make a Wisdom saving throw. If they fail, they can't move more than 30 feet away from you. I'm thinking this will probably be changed somewhat because that's not that strong, in my opinion, in BG3. They'll probably more likely make it like they're compelled to attack you, or maybe they'll lower the distance a little bit so that they can't move, very far from you. But nonetheless, the other Channel Divinity allows them to heal within 30 feet of them. Basically, friendly characters that are like lower than half health, like 1d6 plus their Charisma modifier. So it kind of is like a spot heal as a bonus action. And then at level 7, they gain Divine Allegiance, which makes it so when a creature within 5 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to take the damage in place of that creature. So this makes you like a very effective tank character. If you like having like a tank, this would be a great subclass to choose. So then moving on to Fighter, they gain Arcane Archer, my personal favorite. And essentially, the claim to fame here is that at the 3rd level of Fighter, when you choose this subclass, you're going to gain a feature called Arcane Shot. This makes it so that when you attack from a short bow or longbow, using the attack option, you're going to get to apply an Arcane Shot once you've hit that target. So after you successfully hit, you get to choose from a couple of options for Arcane Shot. And as you get higher and higher level, you'll be able to pick from more and more different Arcane Shot options. These Arcane Shot options include Banishing Arrow, Beguiling Arrow, Bursting Arrow, Enfeebling Arrow, Grasping Arrow, Piercing Arrow, Seeking Arrow, and Shadow Arrow. These do various things, like Beguiling Arrow makes it so that the creature takes extra psychic damage, and they must succeed a Wisdom saving throw or become charmed, so do that. Bursting Arrow makes it so that the arrow detonates after your attack hits, and then it does extra force damage to all creatures within the area. So there are different things that these arrows can do, and you can decide on what you want after it hits the target or not. They also have Magic Arrow, which basically makes it so that when they fire a non-magical arrow from a short bow or longbow, it makes it overcome physical resistance or immunity for that shot. So like if something has resistance to like piercing damage or something like that, it's going to overcome it, go through it, do full damage instead. And also they gain Curving Shot, which makes it so when they use this, if they miss their target, they can actually like an attempt to do an attack roll using this on another target that's within 60 feet. So basically gives you like a free miss and a chance to hit something else at least. So monks are getting Drunken Master, and they even note here that putting the brew in homebrew is the Drunken Master. It looks like they've kind of reworked this over to be a lot different than the handbook. It looks like it's going to revolve around making enemies around you drunk and then applying like buffs to yourself or debuffs to them when attacking them, dealing extra damage and things like that. I'd be curious to see how this all works out. Up next is the Ranger Swarmkeeper subclass. And this effectively makes it so that you have like a swarm that is basically on you and your appearance, and the appearance can vary, but essentially you can use this swarm to assist you each turn by like attacking a nearby enemy, knocking them backward, moving you, etc. And on top of that, you're going to gain the Mage Hand cantrip, and you're also going to gain some spells that you wouldn't normally gain as a ranger, like Fairy Fire. You're going to gain Web, Gaseous Form. So there are some spells you might gain as well. And then at the 7th level, you can gain flying basically as a bonus action. So you can move like more easily around, which is quite nice. Rogue is getting the Swashbuckler subclass, and this makes it so that when they select this subclass, during their turn, if they make a melee attack against a creature, that creature cannot make an opportunity attack against them for the rest of the turn, so they can theoretically attack them and run away and not have to worry about that, or attack them and move to a different position. It also looks like the Swashbuckler has been reworked a little bit from typical 5e. They're allowing them to throw sand at enemies in order to blind them, as well as use their weapon to disarm enemies. These are a little bit different than the 5e handbook, so my guess is that these are some like homebrew rules or changed specifically for the game. So next is Sorcerer Shadow Magic, and this is an interesting one. There are some quirks that Shadow Magic Sorcerers typically have when you make them. I don't know if they're going to implement them into the game and what ramifications they might have. Really curious to see how those will be implemented if they do so. Additionally, they gain Superior Dark Vision, allowing them to see in the dark and cast their spells in the dark well, which is really nice. And they also will have the Shadow Walk ability. And this lets them teleport from dim light or darkness into another dim light or darkness area up to 120 feet away as a bonus action. So this is really good for positioning, probably arguably one of the most powerful sorcerer skills. So definitely expect that to play a huge role in Shadow Magic. But the other things they gain are Hound of Ill Omen. This is basically like a shadow wolf that they can summon that's going to attack enemies on the battlefield. So if you want to play a caster that has a pet, this is absolutely something you can do here. And the Strength of Grave ability allows them to make like a charisma saving throw when they would take damage that would kill them, to try and put them back to 1 HP once per long rest. So that can also prevent them from dying in combat sometimes, which is great. And that brings us to Warlock Hexblade. This is one that I know a lot of people were asking for in the base game, so they're probably going to be really thrilled here. These Warlocks gain spells like Wrathful Smite, Branding Smite, Elemental Weapon, things that are going to increase their melee damage a lot. Hexblades also gain Hexblade's Curse, which allows them to curse a target as a bonus action and to gain bonus damage against them equal to their proficiency bonus. Any attack roll they make against that cursed target can critically hit whether they roll a 19 or 20, which was typically a 20, so it's easier to critical strike against them. And if that target dies while cursed, they're going to regain hit points equal to their Warlock level plus their Charisma modifier. So this is really, really strong. Additionally, they gain proficiency with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons, allowing them to use these effectively in combat the second they become a Hexblade. They can also make it so any weapon that they're using that's not a two-handed weapon basically has charisma for its modifier for attack and damage rolls instead of strength or dexterity. We've kind of seen this already. And then if they later take Pact of the Blade, this benefit extends to every pact weapon they conjure, no matter what the type of weapon it is. They also gain another feature at level 6 that allows them to bind the soul of a humanoid character that they kill to do their bidding. So it's kind of like a weak version of a summons, if you will, that will use like their attack rolls equal to their charisma modifier and things like that to attack. And it'll be bound to them until it dies or, you know, your long rest. So there's also that. And at level 10, they're going to gain Armor of Hexes, which makes it so that if they curse a target with Hexblade's Curse, if that target hits them with an attack roll, that you can use your reaction to roll a d6, and on a 4 or higher, that attack instead misses you regardless of the roll. So that's really, really strong too. And this brings us to the Wizard and Bladesinging subclass. They gain proficiency with light armor and proficiency with one type of one-handed melee weapon of their choice, as well as the performance skill. So if you want to have some armor proficiency and a melee weapon proficiency as a wizard, this is an easy way to get that without multi-classing. And then at level 2, they're going to gain an extremely powerful Blade Song ability, which makes it so as a bonus action they can buff themselves, provided they aren't wearing medium or heavy armor or using a shield. So you definitely won't want to be using any of those if you're playing a Bladesinging wizard. But what this benefit gives you is it gives you armor class equal to your intelligence modifier as a bonus. So the higher your intelligence, the more armor class you're going to have. It increases your movement speed. It's going to give you advantage on dexterity acrobatic checks. And you're going to gain a bonus to your constitution saving throw to make, concentration check. Then the bonus is equal to your intelligence modifier. So it's going to make you harder to kill. You can move further, and you can maintain concentration on your spells more easily. This all makes it more effective to play like a melee wizard, kind of. And you'll be able to use this feature the number of times equal to your proficiency bonus before you need to long rest to replenish it. And then at level 6, you also gain extra attack. This will allow you to attack twice in combat. So this is really, really strong, right? Like if you want to play a wizard build that also melees, then this is an absolute badass subclass. It's arguably one of the best ones in this update. And then finally, at level 10, they gain Song of Defense. This allows you, when you have Blade Song active, the bonus action I just mentioned, that allows you to, when you take damage, you can use your reaction to expend a spell slot, reduce the damage you take by 5 times a spell slot's level. So at level 1, this would be 5 damage, level 2 would be 10, etc. And this can really help keep you alive in combat. Obviously, you're not trying to get hit, but in an off chance you do, you can negate a lot of that damage, which is fantastic. So all in all, there are more, bug fixes coming to the game, performances being added to the game, performance improvements, etc. So there's a lot coming in this patch. The main thing are these subclasses and crossplay. These are absolutely huge. There is going to be some sort of early play test for this in January. You're going to be able to sign up for that soon. I think they are going to make another community post in the not too distant future explaining how to do that. But if you want to get involved in that and sort of, try this out ahead of time, stay tuned for that. So what do you guys make of this? Is this not the best news you've heard in a while? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.